Hey everybody, welcome to Popco the Writers. Tonight,
You are getting better and better at that, Dan. I'm astounded.
it's all Paul's fault. Never even would have thought of doing it if it wasn't for Paul. So, we are going to talk about some of the industry news going on, including this guy. And
Let's see, who is that? Vaguely familiar.
yeah, you might have seen him once or twice. He's currently married to J-Lo. That's
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
But-
That's how I know him. Yeah.
But before we jump on to DC stuff, which will be the bulk of the conversation, I do want to mention suddenly Marvel is having leaks like crazy. But they're not leaks coming from, this source said this and this anonymous source said that. Their freaking actors are talking.
That's weird.
Started off with a TikTok video posted by Mohammed Diab, who is the director of Moon Knight, and a young girl who I believe is actually his daughter, asked the question, what everybody wants to know is there going to be a second season? And the camera pans to him and says, of Moon Knight? And then the camera moves just a little bit to the right, and Oscar Isaac leans in and goes, well, why else would we be here in Cairo? It's like, okay, Moon Knight season 2, check.
Okay, that's all planned, though, right? When these actors do that, it's Marvel is saying to them it's okay to do this stuff, right?
That one, I would think yes.
I would definitely think yes. That one.
The second one, I'm thinking yes as well, but it's a little more gray. It was Patton Oswalt on Good Morning America, and at one point they said, "Oh, and you're in the Marvel universe or the MCU, right?" He said, "Yeah, I play Pip the Troll. I get to hang out with Harry Styles, Star Fox, and of course they're going to do Eternals 2, and Chloe Zhao is coming back for that."
Yeah,
and it's like, normally when you do an interview like that, your publicist goes with you. They run through a pre-interview thing to see what and then they tell you, okay, these are the questions we're going to ask. I don't think they surprised him with that. So it's possible Marvel wanted a little buzz to happen.
Total setup. Yeah.
We are going to get D23 in September.
Yeah.
And knowing all the buzz coming out right now about DC, Marvel is maybe ginning up some of their own publicity through these back channels without coming out and announcing anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. And Marvel barely has to do anything, and they're looking better and better with just conversely to DC.
Yeah.
I think they're probably just loving this whole DC thing. Like, sure, let them do all that stuff. We look great.
Yeah, but a third one happened this weekend.
I'm on tenterhooks.
At C2E2, Rosario Dawson was being interviewed. And somebody, and I don't know the actual dialogue, but I know what her response was. And somebody was talking about the fact that she had been in all but one of the Marvel series on Netflix. She hadn't been in The Punisher, but she was in Defenders. She was popped up on Iron Fist and in Luke Cage and in Jessica Jones and Daredevil. So they were asking her about the fact that Daredevil's now coming back. Would she get a chance to reprise her role and stuff? And she basically said, well, I haven't heard the announcement, but I heard yesterday that Punisher is coming back. So this will be my second chance to be on that series. Now, there's been some rumors about Punisher coming back. And originally when people asked Kevin Feige about the Netflix characters, he spoke highly of Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, Kristen Ritter, and John Bernthal.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the four he name dropped specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Never mentioning Mike Coulter, never mentioning Finn Jones. Those were the four. So them bringing back the Punisher and how popular John Bernthal's Punisher was makes a lot of sense. The fact that Disney Plus now has a way to have adult shows makes a lot of sense for that too.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that this one didn't seem like a planned leak.
Just from what little we know and what you have said, that was my immediate thought was, no, that sounds kind of off the cuff. And it also sounds like she doesn't really know, but she heard a rumor.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I think that might have been just so that she had something to say about that question, you know.
Well, I mean, she could have said, well, yeah, I heard Daredevil's coming back. I haven't heard anything. They haven't called me, but I would love to return.
Sure.
But to actually bring up the Punisher.
Yeah. And I'm not a Punisher fan, but I'll die on the hill of John Bernthal being the most perfect ever person to be Frank Castle.
Yeah.
You know, and in the end, I did actually enjoy those series. I enjoyed the first season better than the second season. Well, that's very interesting. And I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in that Kevin Feige thing. You'd like to think that nothing that comes out of that man's mouth is by accident or just sort of off the cuff, but that almost sounds like he just picked those things out of midair. It's hard to believe he wouldn't have loved the Mike Coulter, Luke Cage stuff.
Yeah.
I can, although I like the Finn Jones Iron Fist, I can kind of see him passing over that to heap praise on it. But the first two totally planned, totally, part of the overall scheme.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I could see them bringing Mike Coulter back into the Daredevil run. See, I think a lot of these characters will pop up in Daredevil.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think they'll get their own series. Yeah. Punisher is more likely to get his own series. The popularity of the character.
Yeah. And I always looked at the Netflix Punisher as being sort of a Netflix adjacent, to, I mean, there was the connective tissue there, but it wasn't connected the way that Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and
he started off in the Daredevil series, so
yeah.
And Karen Page showed up in this Punisher series.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it's there. It's just that otherwise, the other shows were all building up to the Defenders.
Yeah,
and Punisher stood to the side of all of that.
Yeah, they could have brought him in. So, but
sure.
Yeah,
sure. Well, they could have had the Defenders go up against him.
Yeah,
I mean, if there had been a second season of Defenders, I could totally see like their next task is to take on the Punisher.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on Bernthal's portrayal of the Punisher, which is kind of hard for me to say because I'm actually friends with Tom Jane. So I feel bad, but yeah.
Okay.
Bernthal is just amazing as Punisher. I love the Tom Jane Punisher movie.
He was just at some show this weekend because somebody I know went to his panel talk and said how wonderful he was in that panel talk, that they loved his stories and loved to listen to him. So I'm glad to know that he's still getting some mileage out of that movie. Yeah.
He was at C2E2, I believe. But
that's got to be it then. Yeah.
And then but also he did The Expanse, which would get him into these shows as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. How many years has that been since his Punisher?
Wow. That was about 2004, 2005.
So kind of a while.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny is I actually met him while they were filming. He thought I was Tim Bradstreet, came up and started talking to me.
And you did nothing to
No,
break that illusion.
yeah, no. I immediately, and then I ran into Tim Bradstreet about 10 minutes later, and I went, Tom Jane's in there looking for you, and he thought I was
He's
you,
looking for
and
you.
you should feel insulted. And I walked away, and Tim and I have become friends since then too.
Yeah,
So
the Punisher is looking for you, Tim.
what's funny is I found myself in a conversation with Tom Jane, Ben Templesmith, and myself standing in the middle of a ballroom area at a hotel. Tom's not wearing any shoes, and we're debating the positives and negatives of the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie.
Wow.
And Tom Jane is defending it like I've never heard anybody defend that movie.
Huh. Wow.
Yep. I think the only bad thing about Tom Jane's Punisher movie was John Travolta's portrayal of the bad guy. He was way over the top.
Yeah, dubious. Dubious.
Yeah.
No.
The rest of it I thought was good. The Big Russian. But
John Bernthal was born to play Frank Castle. When they made that casting announcement, I hadn't even seen, and I went, "Well, yeah, right. Of course, it's John Bernthal." Like, wow.
Yep.
Like, why didn't I think of that?
And then as I was covering the show for Bleeding Cool, I learned more about him. Bernthal's father is the head of the ASPCA. And Bernthal is a huge fan of pit bulls. He has 2 pit bulls he takes with him to set every day. They're always with him. And as a pit bull owner myself, I'm with you, John. Just, yeah, so.
Good.
Yep.
He knew the way into your heart.
Absolutely. Yep. So, yeah.
Well,
So
I'd be up for his return. I would really hope that he would want to do that. I'm sure it's already in the works. The contracts have already been signed and all of that. I'd love to see Rosario return as night nurse. You know, that would be really cool. I always appreciated the fact that they made sure that she was in all of the series. Well, other than Punisher, and many times playing a very important role, not just cameos. You know, but very important roles. That she was sort of the glue that tied the whole thing together at some point. I just get a kick out of these people who are becoming, Disney family members, like Oscar Isaac and now her, and it's just funny, you are welcomed into the Disney mafia forever.
My nephew just at dinner a few minutes ago said, "I saw a picture of Ewan McGregor and Simu Liu together. Is he doing something for Star Wars now?" Like, well, of course he is. He's part of the not that I'm aware of, but. Yeah, it's just that natural connection,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Star Wars movie with Robert Downey Jr. at any time now. Hey, real quick, you brought up D23. I'm expecting big Star Wars news, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of
we've got a film announcement.
Yeah, we've got I haven't heard much about the films. I mean, I know Taika Waititi is supposed to be working on one. Kevin Feige is supposed to be working on one.
Yeah, I think we're going to get some more concrete information about it. It's been too long and nothing being said, and I think it's time that they start to say more about getting back to the real roots of Star Wars, which is the feature film. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a trilogy announcement, just a feature film.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Lawrence Kasdan came out the other day and said that he's ready to write Solo 2. Now, no one's talking about Solo 2. There's no buzz about it. The general online attitude about Solo 2 has changed a lot. There was negativity when it first came out. Now you look online, everybody's like, that was a better movie than I thought.
It always happens. Usually it takes longer than this for that to happen. See, for me, I just assumed that Lando was going to be Solo too, but now they're not even talking about that anymore.
Yeah. So they do have a lot to talk about at D23.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jay, good to see you. So yeah, it's going to be. I think D23 will have some good announcements, but I think we'll get more Star Wars announcements. We talked after the San Diego Con about what I thought those missing movies were.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Eternals 2,
Mm-hmm.
Shang-Chi 2, and
I would have thought we would have heard that before Eternals too. You
well,
know,
I think those two are going to. I think both of those are going to be part of Phase 6.
mm-hmm.
I think Deadpool 3 will take up the Phase 5
I
slot.
am now up on Deadpool. I have watched both Deadpool movies. I am scarred for life, but I have watched both Deadpool movies, so I'm totally up on Deadpool.
Do you agree that the second one was much more comic book inside joke than the first? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I took a step back from the first one, I said there's almost nothing there as far as plot. It's a very, very basic plot, and it's really just kind of strung together with with him just rattling on about whatever. But suddenly you get two and it's way more involved, and yeah, definitely. I'm going to go so far as to say I almost enjoyed number two, compared to number one.
Yeah, well, they changed writers. The first one had been written for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and the director it changed, and they brought in the guy from John Wick for number two,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a lot of world building around the character in John Wick, and I think they were doing that kind of here too.
I remember hearing after when Deadpool 2 came out that people saying it's not really a Deadpool movie, it's an X-Force movie. And I walked away pretty much agreeing with that I could have had less of Deadpool and more of Domino, for that matter.
More of Brad Pitt.
That, you know what, that I'd admit that was kind of funny. It was a waste of the Vanisher character in the end, but and then some of the other ones that they kill off, I'm like, well, wait a minute, they're dead forever now, right?
Yeah, but not the what was his name? Pete. Was it Pete? Peter?
No. Oh hell, I can't think of it. Yeah, shoot, I can't think of it. It's just some common name. It's like Dave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I've already forgotten it, so that tells you something.
Yeah, but the third movie is actually being written by Reynolds and the guy that co-wrote Free Guy.
Oh, wait, what is being written by them?
Deadpool 3.
Okay.
They brought he's working on it with the guy from Free Guy. And Free Guy was spectacular.
Okay. What wasn't there supposed to be an X-Force movie at one time?
Yeah, but that's not gonna.
Okay.
That was Fox.
Okay.
So
I think they should have done it.
Yeah. So all right, let's change universes.
I have to put on a different hat for that.
I can do that. I've got different hats behind me.
There we go. It's an invisible, like, virtual hat. Okay. What universe are we in?
DC.
Okay.
Warner Brothers. Now we've talked about this some. How
Discovery.
Yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah.
First, we should probably talk about. I mean, there was the initial leak again by Jason Momoa that Ben Affleck was doing reshoots for Aquaman 2. Now, I know a lot of people were skeptical when it came out. They're like, well, he didn't say he was doing it. Well, let's see. He goes to a trailer door that has Necros on it, which is the shooting title for Aquaman 2. And it has the initials BA on it. Then he opens the door, looks in, and it's Ben Affleck. Then he puts out 2 photos of them together doing a table read. Seems pretty straightforward, and and he
or,
talked
or
about,
a very elaborate joke.
yeah, but it makes sense because they moved the Flash to much further in the future after Aquaman 2 is going to get released. Michael Keaton was reported to be in Aquaman 2 as Batman, and now without the Flash showing how the characters change, it didn't make sense to test audiences. So they decided, okay, we'll reshoot the Michael Keaton scenes with Ben Affleck as Batman or as Bruce Wayne. That made sense. That wasn't show-stopping. That's like, well, they're going to put Aquaman out before Flash, so the big multiverse crisis thing isn't going to take place yet. It makes perfect sense to switch them. Then they killed Batgirl. And Scoob. We shouldn't forget Scoob 2, the holiday special.
Scoob 2.
Films.
I'm more broken up about that than Batgirl.
2 films that were basically done and in post.
Yeah.
Batgirl had already had a test audience screening, and it supposedly didn't go well. But and a lot of people are hanging their hat on that it didn't go well.
I think is wrong. I think from everything I understand, I don't think that's at the core of this at all.
I think what it is they looked at the movie and they said, okay, is this a theatrical release film? Now, that's not saying the quality of the film is not good, but it wasn't meant to be a theatrical release. It was meant to be an HBO Max release.
Right.
They don't want to do that anymore. Zaslav has said they're going to do tentpole movies and some series. That's what they're doing with DC. So they had the option, try to spend more money on it to make it a theatrical release, spend even more money on it on marketing.
Exactly. Promotion, right.
Or they have this tax write-off they can do right now because of the merger. It's a special tax write-off they can do. And they can recoup and it appears they can recoup more money as a tax write-off than they could of spending more money and putting it out in theater.
Yeah. Here's my kind of look at it. These kinds of business decisions almost always look extremely harsh and confusing to the general public. But my superpower is the ability to look at both sides of a story and try to understand them. And I am, I looked at it and I said, yeah, it's a business decision. It just happens to be a business decision about millions and millions and millions of dollars, which is hard for us to wrap our brains around down on this level. But I guess it makes some, sense that, but I think it was you, Dan, who pointed out that if it's written off as taxes, it can never, ever be put out to make any money at all.
Exactly.
So tell me something. What exactly does that mean? Does this thing become a legendary shelved film forever, or is there a way to give it free to anybody who wants it?
The only way they could do it for free, and again, it's rough because if they put it on HBO Max, then it might cause people to subscribe, in which case they're making a profit.
Absolutely. I don't think the IRS is going to enjoy that at all. Right. Like that. No.
Right. If they just put it on their YouTube channel, it might get people to click on their YouTube advertising dollars.
Yeah.
If they give it to one of the networks,
that's where I'm going.
The problem is networks make money.
Yeah, because of commercials and.
Yep. So there really isn't.
There's just no way, right? Is that right?
as soon as they take it as a tax write-off, this and Scoob become buried films forever.
Or they make a bunch of Blu-rays of it, and anybody who's writes in, they just send it to them for free. Right?
Yeah. Or they could do showings of them at cons, I guess.
Oh,
but they couldn't advertise it. They'd have to do them. You'd have to do them as a surprise screening.
Yeah. So the other side of this story that I look at and I'm trying to understand is the creative side of it. And as a creator myself, my heart goes out to everybody who worked on that film from top to bottom. That I mean, yes, that is part of the business, that there are these kind of crushing heartaches and you have to move on. I totally get that. And I've had books like that where they've sat for a while and I thought, okay, it's never going to be published and I have to just move on, or I just lay on my bed and cry all day. My thought is that Leslie Grace's agent got a whole flurry of stuff out of, even like sympathy, like, we want to talk to Leslie because we kind of feel bad and we think that we want her for this, that, and the other thing. So she may have in some ways benefited from this, but in a way Warner Discovery is also going to get hurt, because there's a bunch of creators that are going to say, I ain't never working for these people.
Yeah.
And that could go way up. There could be some named directors who Warner will want to work with, and they're going to turn around and say, nope, I'm not taking that chance that you're going to have another business decision like that. And, so
honestly, I think this is less damaging to Warner Brothers than the putting everything out on HBO Max with Dune and Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla. That was more damaging to them, and that guy is gone. This is going to be looked at as business, a new regime taking over for an old regime.
Yeah.
And as long as these guys become established and it doesn't look like it's going to be a constant regime change, right, this will blow over from a creative standpoint.
Sure.
Because they're only going to green light big movies.
Yeah.
So if they're bringing
it's new bosses walking in, looking around at what's there and saying, that's crap, that's crap, that's crap. Throw that out, and throw that out. We're starting fresh.
Damn. Gonna kill a fly.
Oh, okay. And if I don't know, again, I'm not at that level of business, but I guess when you take the zeros off of everything, it's like any business, that there are hard decisions to make. If you're tasked with making sure a company survives and makes more money, then sometimes you have to make the tough decisions. This just happens to be a $90 million decision. Right. I don't know what Scoob's what they had spent already on Scoob.
40.
Okay. Now here's the other thing is my assumption is that anybody who worked on Batgirl has been paid.
Yeah, everybody's getting paid.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's legal. You do work, you have to get paid for it. So they're all been paid. Now, there's a bunch of people in promotion and marketing that are not going to get paid because
they're not going to work on it. Yeah.
And I don't know how that works with the directors, if they will only get a percentage of what they were supposed to get because their work is being truncated now.
No, I think they'll get basically you have your budget. So they had $20 million, it got bumped up to 90 million.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is we're not spending any more. So these guys are all getting paid. Now, unless somebody had a percentage deal.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And I don't think anybody on here would have a percentage deal. The directors, they've only done, they did one of the Bad Boys movie, Bad Boys for Life. They did the Miss Marvel series, and they're doing this. This is kind of, they're not in a position to get a percentage.
Yeah.
None of the, maybe Michael Keaton would be big enough, but he's not a big enough role in here. I don't see J.K. Simmons getting a percentage.
Yeah. How,
Brendan Fraser,
What do you think goes through Michael Keaton's mind when these different things they call him up and they say, dude, you're not going to be seen in Batgirl. Dude, you're not going to be seen in Aquaman. And dude, you might not even get to be seen in Flash. And maybe we brought you back for no damn reason at all. And sorry. I see Michael Keaton as a guy who's basically saying, I don't really give a damn. So what?
Michael Keaton
I got paid like I should have. And I don't think he really cares one way or the other.
Michael Keaton recently came out and said that he's never watched an entire Marvel or DC movie.
I hate it when these guys say that stuff because you know what? Who cares for one thing? And that's sort of grandstanding. That makes you sound cool,
Yeah.
That's what's his face saying, no superhero movie is artistic at all. Whoever the hell said, like, so what? Just keep it to yourself, and you're just grandstanding. You're just getting some publicity.
I really think it's just a check for him. He doesn't care.
Yeah. No.
If he's the Vulture, if he's Batman, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
But there is the question, and this is a lot of people are asking, and it's got a lot of the Snyder people just giddy. They think that this might be reversing. You mentioned Michael Keaton, because we're taking the biggest part he was going to have was in Batgirl. He had a small part in Aquaman. And both of those are gone. And we don't know what they're doing with the Flash, even though they have said they're going to put the Flash out.
Do you want to have this conversation right now? Because I've been holding on to, I want to talk about the Flash.
We're going to get to it.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just, just clarifying that right now.
But what they're doing, so a lot of people are like, well, they're putting the Snyderverse back. Now, there is putting back those actors without it being the Snyderverse. You can do that without Zack Snyder. You still have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. You still have Jason Momoa as Aquaman. You could have Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill come back and not be the Snyderverse. It doesn't have to be Zack's stories.
Sure, right.
So it is possible that they're going, why are we going to 70-some-odd-year-old Michael Keaton when we have Ben Affleck? Why aren't we keeping Henry Cavill, who everybody seems to love?
Well, I said it to a friend today, like them walking in and going, why the hell do we have a Batgirl movie in production and not a Henry Cavill Superman movie in production? Yeah. Why the hell do we own Superman when we're not doing anything with it? And we're making a Batgirl movie.
Yeah, it's because it was the last guy, I don't remember his name, his whole thing was he got bonuses based off of subscriptions to HBO Max. So his thing was to do movies for HBO Max. Batgirl, Blue Beetle, Wonder Twins, and now all of those are getting cut. We don't know what's going on with Blue Beetle. There's word that came out not too long ago that it was actually going to get a theatrical release. That it was big enough to do a theatrical release. So that might save it. But now we don't know about stuff like the Static Shock movie.
Now I'm kind of going back to that maybe Batgirl wasn't very good at all, and that was not the deciding factor, but that helped them made them feel better about acting,
right? But it could also be,
and then saying like, you know what, and it wasn't really that good anyways. But wow, that's interesting that Blue Beetle might be perceived as a better movie than this Batgirl thing.
Yeah, but then also the Michael Keaton thing may have been a deciding factor. Do we want to move forward with Michael Keaton as Batman?
And let me just say, my heart goes out to everybody who really wanted to see Michael Keaton back as Batman. I wasn't necessarily one of those people, but I thought it was a fun idea. But I'm gonna think that it's the Stan thing from Star Trek that desiring something is not or and then getting it is what's the saying by Spock about wanting whatever that was about wanting something and what you get is not necessarily what you want.
Yeah.
I think that they would have gotten a lot of like, gee, he's really old. You know, you saw the photo that the director released. How do they do that? I mean, like, how do they just? I mean, do they have to get the boss's permission to release a photo?
Well, I guess at this point they don't care because what are they going to do? Get fired?
Right. And I'll tell you something. If I was Kevin Feige, I'd be making some phone calls like to those two guys and saying, "You will always have a home here with us." You know,
Kevin Feige, James Gunn, and Edgar Wright have all reached out to them to support.
good. And you know what? Honestly, reach out to Leslie Grace and say, "Listen, maybe we have some place for you here." You know, and then Marvel wins again. You know, they look good, and maybe they get, you know, another good performer, and everybody's, you know, good except for Warner Discovery. I hope they can get their act together. I'm not hoping that they crash and burn. It is still my most favorite comic book characters of all time, and I still feel like, you know, like the pain from that I don't go see their movies necessarily, and I see every single thing that Marvel does. It's still, you know, a personal pain to me to not like what DC is doing. So hopefully they can get going. And you know what? If they start all over again and there's a new guy as Superman and I don't know. I mean, they're not going to they're going to go ahead with more Robert Pattinson Batman.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what they need to do is come out and actually lay out the plan.
Yes.
They need to be transparent, but the problem is they don't have their Kevin Feige yet.
Yeah.
And they are getting one. That's the whole part of it. Is they're going to put together what they call the 10-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in Alan Horn, or brought back Alan Horn. Alan Horn used to be co-chairman of Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. He went to Disney, worked with Bob Iger and Kevin Feige to create Marvel Studios.
Right.
You know, so what's going on over there? Now Alan Horn retired, and Zaslav got him to come out of retirement. So he's not going to be there long, but he's basically going to be there to find their Kevin Feige. And Zaslav has restructured Warner Brothers to make DC Films its own studio, to create a position for that person.
Yeah.
So it's all set up to follow the Marvel formula. But the question comes, well, who's their Kevin Feige?
I have a name, but you do not. I already know you do not agree with the name that I have. I've already seen it come up, and that name is Jeff Johns. I'm not 100% on it, but that was the first name that I went to.
Jeff Johns would seem like a good choice. He's got a similar background from Kevin Feige in that he came up in Richard Donner studio. Mm-hmm. He's worked as a producer. He knows comics. All of that, but the problem is that Jeff Johns was part of the last regime. Mm-hmm. He was this kind of position, but he was part of it. And there's a good chance that Zaslav is just going to clear slate. Just, you know, Kevin, I can't think of his name right now. There's currently a head of DC Films, and he's talking about quitting. I don't think he's going to be around long anyway. And yeah, I don't see. There's so much negativity towards Jeff Johns, especially from the Zack Snyder fans.
I know. I took that into consideration. Yeah. I was doing the comparison thing to Kevin Feige's background in comics, that he was the guy that was the fan to begin with, and that he's, you know, making sure that the, you know, the few thousand people who care about the comics are happy, along with the millions of people who, you know, who like the movies. But then I also know that Jeff does have the producing experience and all of that. So I don't know. I can't imagine that his name is at least not being floated and considered, you know, and maybe by this time dispensed with. But I would imagine that he's somewhat in the running.
I think if they were going to go with Jeff Johns, they wouldn't needed to bring in Alan Horn. Mm-hmm. I think Alan Horn's job is to find the Kevin Feige, and I'm going to throw one name out there that I didn't come up with. Howard Chaykin actually drew out in the middle of my conversation on Facebook, which I kept going, why the hell is Howard Chaykin on my conversation? But he suggested Reggie Hudlin, who I think would be an excellent choice. It wasn't somebody I thought of, and it's outside the box, but I think Reggie Hudlin would be interesting. I think he's got the background. He's got the comic background as well.
He's got all the nuts and bolts background. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He was a Hollywood producer. He was also involved with Milestone.
How old is he?
50s.
See, that's not bad. I'm going to go back to saying about Jeff is that Jeff is younger. Jeff is 40s, and that might be attractive also, that they're going to get even more time out of him. But yeah, 50s that's not bad. Of course. How old was Kevin Feige when Marvel Studios started? I don't even know.
I think he was in his 40s because he's just now around 50, I think.
Well, there you go. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is whoever it turns out to be. This is going to be very interesting.
Well, for me, and you probably saw this. The names that came up to me, and I rejected some names, of course, that people were putting out there. It just from my thinking. A lot of people wanted Zack Snyder back. That's never going to happen.
God.
Somebody suggested Bruce Timm. And as much as I love Bruce Timm,
that's interesting.
He has zero live action experience. He's only worked on animated series, and he's a creator. If they're not going to go with the creator, they're going to go with the producer. He's going to be, because it's a business first. You've got to be able to find these actors. You've got to, yes, connecting all the dots in the story is part of it, but also running the studio and the plan and finding the talent. And that's not what Bruce Timm does. You need someone you need a producer.
Yeah.
So I have incredible respect for Bruce Timm, and for Paul Dini would be another one.
Yeah.
But neither one of them makes sense in this role.
See, personally, I don't think that the whole thing about like he's an animated guy, so to speak, means much, because I think story is story.
Right, but
I get what you're saying about he doesn't really have that producer experience. I know that Jeff Johns, like the Stargirl series, he had, he was involved in every aspect of it, the casting especially. Okay, interesting names for people to throw out.
The names that I think people should keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alan Horn is going to pull from Marvel.
Well, sure. Why not?
Next tier down. So you've got Kevin Feige, but you have these handful of producers that have come up in the ranks and have worked on all those movies. Mm-hmm. And the three names that come to mind to me are Nate Moore, Brad Winderbaum, and Steven Broussard. They have worked on most of the big movies. Brad Winderbaum also does the animated stuff, but he does a lot of the live action movies.
What's the name of the woman who is high up in Marvel? It's not coming to me.
Victoria Alonso?
Yeah. What about her?
She just got promoted, and she oversees a lot of the visual effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, but or are you just a misogynist? Come on, Dan.
No, I looked at Victoria Alonso and Louis D'Esposito, who are kind of Feige's left and right hands. Mm-hmm. And
the reason I say that is a woman or women are the head of DC Comics right now. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be horribly surprised, but I think they're going to go one level down. Okay. They're not going to pluck from the top level.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily think Alan would do that to Kevin.
I don't either, because I can see Kevin Feige be very, very pissed if somebody high up. Well, he's not going to be happy if anybody's
Right.
poached from his team.
Well, see,
But
I don't
that
think
kind of shit happens, right?
Kevin Feige comes across as somebody who loves the business so much and loves good movies coming out. Like when the guys who went over to do Batgirl, they got a hold of him and said, "Hey, they just hired us to do Batgirl," and Kevin Feige's like, "That is awesome! I can't wait to see it."
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, where these other guys, they've worked on they've worked on the TV, the Disney Plus series. They've worked on the movies. That's where I think you're going to find your guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those guys.
Maybe we're finally going to get DC to do what I wanted them to do all along, which is use Marvel as the example. Use some Marvel formula. Stop trying to be not Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel has a proven success rate that's just utterly amazing. Copy off of them. Come on,
Yeah, they've talked about doing that, but the problem is that they've tried to jumpstart. We're going to do a Superman movie, and then we're going to do Batman versus Superman, then we're going to do the Justice League.
Yeah.
It's like you need to build these other movies.
And then we're going to do Suicide Squad. We're gonna try to do Guardians of the Galaxy without earning doing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and as soon as one doesn't go as well as they expect it to, they completely change directions.
I know.
So what they need to do is they need to find that person, but then they need to stick with the 10-year plan and actually,
and
if Marvel stuck with the plan, the Hulk did not do nearly as well as they had hoped.
Yep.
But they didn't throw it out with the bathwater.
And that's a great example. Huge Iron Man success. You get the Hulk, and they could have done that. They could have just said, "Oh crap," and let's just start all over again, or whatever,
Yeah,
or
they looked at the Hulk.
bucket.
Yeah, they went, "How do we fix it? We change actor." Mm-hmm. When they did Iron Man, they went, "Okay, the only problem with Iron Man is
that guy,
Terrence Howard."
Howard.
With Don Cheadle, and that's what they did. They would make those little changes, and then after that, they really knew how. So that's why I'm big on them pulling from Marvel, because you get to see the casting process. These guys see all that, and it could be Tran, I think is one of the. She's another producer.
Whoa.
There's also it could be Victoria Alonso. Those three names came to me because they're still young. They're not the top level, but they've got the biggest body of work.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of
and Marvel could maybe more easily roll with losing one of them.
Yes,
at that level, and interesting. I'm sure this is all going on behind the scenes right
Absolutely. Now. It's what I would do if I was running.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Someday we're going to have a 2-volume slipcase set, the history of DC Studios or whatever, and we're going to know this whole story.
Yeah.
So when do we talk about the Flash?
Right now.
Okay.
So part of the 10-year plan.
What I did there.
Part of the 10-year plan is to use the Flash to set up this new universe going forward. And I think they're going to use it to be able to keep some of the actors, get rid of some of the others. We get rid of Ray Fisher and Ezra Miller. We keep Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa. They make decisions on everybody else. Who's going to be our, and then they move forward. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what the answers are going to be. Whether it's going to be
one question, keep going. But I have one.
I know we're going to do nothing but talk about the Flash in just a second.
Okay.
You've got this other stuff going on. You've got the Joker movie sequel. You've got the Batman. Maybe they decide to cling on to those things and build a universe. Maybe they decide to do the Batman's going to be his movies. Wonder Woman's going to have her movies. We're going to have a new Superman. He's going to have his movies, and they're not going to cross. And then maybe later on, or they'll be like individual universes, and eventually they'll cross over. But this character shows up in the Batman franchise, this one in the Superman. Don't know. But now we get to the Flash.
Okay, I'll ask the big one first. So there is no way whatsoever that they can that movie. Am I right? Right? There's
You're
no
right.
way, no possibility that they
Nope.
can that movie. Okay.
They've spent between 2 and 300 million.
Right. I
They
heard that.
can't do a tax write-off on it that's going to give them back anywhere near what they could recoup in the theater. The fact is, test audiences are really loving the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting incredibly positive reviews. They're saying that Ezra Miller is great in it as both roles because he plays two roles.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a film that's impossible to edit him out.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think they're going to bump it back as far as they can and hopes that his craziness dies down and people forget about it. It's
short of him becoming a convicted murderer, I guess, maybe, or
yeah.
My thought is that I know how this works. That only gets more people to go see the movie. That the more he's in trouble or the crazier that he acts, then you go, oh well, I really want to see this guy in this movie, and despite the him supposedly being on the run and armed and dangerous or whatever, that he's crossing the United States. I thought maybe he might even show up at Pulp Fest this weekend when I was there. I thought, sure, just watch out because he's armed, right?
Yeah.
My other question is this. So does it make sense for DC to head into huge multiverse territory when that's what Marvel is doing, heading into huge multiverse territory? Is that the right way to go, or is it? I mean, it's too late, obviously, to change the Flash movie, but do they keep doing that, or is that just too much of a Marvel thing now?
I think they have to use the multiverse to clean things up.
Okay.
Unless they're going to go clear the slate, everybody's fired, we're starting over, which I don't see them doing.
Okay.
We have established heroes that people like. People love Gal Gadot. People love Jason Momoa.
Yep.
Yeah. So they could use it, and what I thought was going to happen with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was that the Doctor was going to close the multiverse at the end of it. Marvel was going to use that to clean up some of the mistakes or, change some characters, bring some new ones in. They didn't. They may still do that by the end of Phase 6 and explain bringing in some characters that haven't been around yet.
Right. Yeah, because we've been told that now this is the multiverse saga, so we're on this path for a while now still.
But I think DC could use that in a crisis type thing, like Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay.
And then condense it down to one multiverse at the end, and have that be the new universe. And going forward, use the actors they want to use, get rid of the ones they want to get rid of, change things where they want to, include, get rid of,
So you're saying the difference here is that one studio is using it for story and creative reasons, and the other company could use it for business reasons.
Yeah.
Basically. So that in itself is two very different reasons to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A way to hang on to the stuff you want to keep and flush what you don't.
Yeah.
And condense.
How far back do you see them pushing the Flash?
It's already pushed back to summer of next year. I think it really depends on what happens over the next 6 months. If Ezra quiets down, the Flash and Black Adam movies do all right. Though I hear the Shazam movie's getting moved. and that Aquaman's going to get moved too. So it could be they're going to keep shifting in hopes of clearing up. Because
Black Adam is still this year, right?
It's still October.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Now I hear they're moving Shazam because they don't want it to go up against Avatar. They're both supposed to open the same day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think people are going to care about Avatar.
I don't think so either. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Who really gives a damn about that? Well, it's just been too long ago.
Yeah, and I never heard anybody who came out of Avatar going, "Oh my God, what a great story. Oh my God, this is awesome." I heard, well, it's basically Pocahontas, but the effects are amazing. Well, we're way past those effects.
Yeah.
So unless they're doing cutting edge effects again. So yeah, it really does come down to, but if they are moving it off of that, then maybe they move that to the February slot and they move Aquaman to the early summer and Flash gets bumped back even further, which I don't think they're going to mind.
Right.
But that means they're waiting to relaunch their 10-year plan until the Flash comes out.
Did I see that She-Hulk got pushed back? Or
it got moved a day.
Oh, okay. Andor got pushed back.
Andor's moved back to September.
Yeah, but three episode premiere.
Yeah, 3 episodes at once. But because I think they realized when they had Kenobi and Miss Marvel at the same time that it hurt Miss Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Because the Miss Marvel numbers were lower than any other. Even though it was well received, it was lower.
So they think that She-Hulk needs to be on its own.
At least for a bit. She-Hulk is, 9 episodes? And Andor is 12? 18?
Or 12. I'm thinking of Daredevil. Yes, 12. I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that Andor is, I haven't seen it, but it's not Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it needs as much help as She-Hulk probably needs, some in that sense. But yeah, I guess why have two ones that are maybe might have some little bit of difficulty and get them apart more and let them try to stand on their own, And
then they've moved She-Hulk to Thursdays now instead of Wednesdays.
That's weird.
Yeah. Now, will they also move Andor's to Thursdays, or are they finally going to have a Star Wars night and a Marvel night, which would make a lot of sense?
It really would. It really, really would. That last trailer for Andor, I was already going to watch it, but that really sold me on it. That one we just got, I'm totally there. That was what I really wanted to see.
Yep. It barely felt like Star Wars to me, but it felt awesome.
It felt more like Star Wars to me than the first one, which didn't really feel much like Star Wars at all. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to watch it. But now it really kicked in, for me, and I'm looking forward to it. And I've always been looking forward to She-Hulk. Yeah. I think people just have to realize what they're doing with it. And if the first episode clearly points out this is more funny, it's fourth wall breaking, and get people used to the idea. Because I'm thinking back when people freaked out over the beginning of WandaVision because they just could not handle what it was.
Yeah. I think Marvel did it right by showing Wong, Abomination, and Daredevil and Hulk all in the trailer. It's like, yeah, we got them. So,
Yep. Bring on the cameos and the crossovers and the team ups. I'm there. I want a Marvel series called Marvel Team Up. Bring it on. Come on, we got enough characters out there, right?
Yep, we do. All right, we're going to have to wrap it up there. We've hit our hour. So another good show. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week with... We'll figure it out. Did we ever have our
letters coming?
Yeah. Did we ever have our Doctor Strange conversation?
We have not, nor have we had a Thor conversation, really.
Yep. So
we're getting farther and farther away from it, Dan. Come on now.
Well, soon Thor will be on Disney Plus. I'm thinking by the 24th.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Right. Let's end it there.
It's going to be the running joke of this show that we're going to say we're going to talk about Doctor Strange, but we're never actually going to get to talking about Doctor Strange or Thor, maybe for that.
Yeah, it's like Matt Damon. Sorry we have to bump Matt Damon.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be.
All right, guys, we will see you next week. Have a great week, and